Hey everybody, it is your college admissions coach, and today I want to talk about the different ways that you can pay for college. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn about the ways that you can pay for your education. All right, so welcome to my channel, and as I stated earlier, we're going to be talking about the ways that you can pay for college. But first, I want to talk about preparing for college in advance, preparing to pay for college in advance. One of the things that my husband and I have done for our son is we have invested in a 529 college savings plan. All right, let me say that again. We have invested in our son's future by saving money into a 529 college savings plan. I think each state has a 529 college savings plan available. Florida, they have Florida Prepaid, which is an amazing program for you to invest in your child's future. And I bet you're wondering, well, how do you know that your son's going to go to college? He's only 2 years old. Well, we don't know. But we are putting money away just in case he decides to go. And guess what? There are tax advantages for putting away money for education. For example, when you use the 529, the money in the 529, it can only be used for education, but it is not taxed. You're not taxed for that money, and so you can pull it out and use it for education. The downside to the 529 savings plan, as I understand it, is that if your child does not go to college, you can pull that money out, but if you don't use it on education, you can be taxed. So there's that thing. All right, so that's the 529 college savings plan. What I know of it, I am not a financial advisor. I am just a parent and an educator who's trying to prepare her student, her son, for the future. But if you have questions about the 529, I will try to answer them. Leave them in the comment box below. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So it is a free application that you do online if you are looking for ways to pay for your education. The FAFSA can be completed on October 1st of every year. And if a student is under 24, if they are not a parent, if they are not in the military, and if they are not married, they must use their parents' tax information to complete the FAFSA. Even if your parent does not file taxes, you still must complete the FAFSA, and your parent must sign the FAFSA in order for you to be considered for federal student aid. Now, there are different types of federal aid and state aid that you can be considered for, but all of the information, or I guess I should say, most of the information comes from completing the FAFSA. And Adonis has joined us. Say hey. All right, so I feel like I need to sit down for this one because I want to go back to talking about needing the parents' information for the FAFSA. I see it all too often where parents do not want to give the school, does not want to give the student their personal income information. And look, the college, we're not trying to be in your business. We're just trying to help your student pay for college. Okay? The federal government, I don't know, what they do with it, but I will say that I have entered my information in the FAFSA since 2005, and I just entered my information and I got my money to pay for college. Parents, help your students pay for college unless you can afford to pay tuition out of your pocket, which is commendable, which is great. By all means, do it if you can afford it. But if you can afford to send your student to college on your income alone, then we need your help by you giving us your tax information so we can help your student pay for college. All right, so let's talk about grants. There are federal and there are state grants. Grants are education assistance where students do not have to pay the money back. Most of the time, grants are based on a student's income or their parents' income. So grants are needs based. One of the most popular forms of grants is the Pell Grant, and that comes from the federal government, and that one is based on a family's income. Um, if a student is awarded the full Pell amount, which is I think it's a little over $3,000, and they go to a community college, especially in North Carolina, that will cover their tuition and their books and their student fees, and then they may even receive a refund of the money. So grants are a big deal. The state also has grants that they offer, and I think those are based on need as well. And just remember that if you are awarded a grant, that is money that you do not have to repay. However, grants can be affected by the grades that you earn in your classes. So, if you sign up for classes and you fail a class and you receive grants to pay for your education, then if you fail so many classes, that's going to hurt your financial aid. And when I say hurt, you could lose your financial aid. So you could be on financial aid suspension. If as that GPA decreases, the opportunity that you have with financial aid decreases, especially with the free money. So another way for you to lose your grant is if you sign up for classes and then you withdraw from classes, especially after the classes have been paid for, and especially if you've already received your financial aid refund. In that case, students often have to pay money back, and they actually pay money back to their institution, so to whatever college or university you attend. My advice to students is sign up for the classes that you know you can handle. If you are trying to do 5 classes and you're trying to work and do a whole bunch of other stuff, you come to my office telling me that, I'm going to say no. I don't think it's a good idea. It is your choice, but I don't think it's a good idea, because when are you going to have time to study? When are you going to have time for you to de-stress, to do whatever you need to do? However, there are some students who can handle all that. Just keep in mind, if you are receiving grants, grants can be affected if you drop classes, if you fail classes. So just keep that in mind. Next up is scholarships. There are so many different scholarships available to students. There are state scholarships, so like Florida has Bright Future Scholarship. I think Georgia has the Hope Scholarship. Then you have institutional scholarships. Those come from your university or your community college, and they likely come from a foundation. So a foundation is where you ask rich people to donate money to help fund students' education, but also some people who are rich just want to donate money so they don't have to be asked. So yeah, state scholarships, institution scholarships, you have private scholarships. Now, private scholarships are typically what, when you hear students saying, I need to find scholarships, then you're talking about looking for private scholarships. Private scholarships require you to apply for them. They require essays and certain GPAs and certain test scores on the SAT or the ACT. And then scholarships can be needs based. So they can be based off your family's income. And then many scholarships are merit based. So they are based on your GPA, your test scores, how many hours of community service you completed, what clubs you were in, if you played sports. Um, and then, of course, there are athletic based scholarships. So if you are a stellar, a phenomenal football player, track star, tennis, cheerleading, and yes, cheerleading is a sport, get into it. But there are so many different scholarships available to students. Now, the difference between scholarships and grants. Grants, you do not pay back unless you withdraw from classes or fail so many classes. Scholarships have certain requirements. I'll give you an example. Florida Bright Future Scholarship. I remember when I had it, I think I had the Medallion Scholars. It was like 75%, where they paid 75% of your tuition. And I think I had to maintain a 3.0 GPA every semester. Well, y'all, I went to Florida State and I was playing around that first semester. And I didn't do too bad the first semester, but it was the combination of the first semester and the second semester of my freshman year, and I lost my Bright Future Scholarship. So that's typical with scholarships. They have certain requirements that you have to meet. And if you miss one of those requirements, for example, if your GPA drops, then they will pull that money back. And sometimes they may even make you pay that money back. So, my advice is definitely go out there, look for scholarships, see how much money you can get to pay for school. And there's no limit to the number of scholarships you can get. So, get all you can get to pay for school so that you don't have to owe any money when you leave school. But keep in mind that every scholarship has their own set of requirements that you have to meet as long as you are getting that scholarship money. So if you happen to miss one of those requirements, you could lose your money. Let's talk about work study. I love work study. I had a work study job on campus like every semester while I was in undergrad, except maybe my freshman year. So, what is work study? Work study is need based, and you get qualified for that based on the results of your FAFSA. And you get a job on your campus in any department that will take you, and you work so many hours per week, and you get paid. Now it says work study, so you should be able to work and study, but you may find certain departments on campus that really need you to focus on the work at hand and study when you get off. Um, that was not my experience, and I'm so appreciative of work study because that is how I built my resume while I was in undergrad. And let's just take a moment to talk about building your resume while you're in undergrad. Here's the thing: whatever you major in, make sure you can get you a volunteer position while you're working on that degree in the field that you are wanting to do. Make sure you can get you a work study position in that field, or get you an internship. That is so important. Get the experience while you're working on a degree. And that's going to be the difference between you graduating and getting a job or you graduating and not qualifying because you don't have experience. And so work study was really the key thing that helped me get my foot in the door. I think I worked in the sports management department, greeting students. Everything I did for work study involved me interacting with students and parents and faculty, which set me up for the positions that I had after I graduated. I worked in the criminology department. I worked at the IMAX. One fist up. I worked in I think that's it, sports management, criminology, IMAX. And so I networked, I built relationships with faculty members, with my supervisors, and those relationships I built as a work study student helped me secure my first salaried position after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. So if you are awarded work study, please take advantage of it if your schedule allows. And something to note, when you're doing the FAFSA, it will ask you if you want to be considered for federal work study. I always put yes, and you can decline it. If you are awarded it and then you say, I don't want to do it, then you don't have to do it. But at least if you select yes that you want to be considered for it and you get awarded it, then you have the option to decide what it is that you want to do. But work study, networking, meeting people on campus, building your resume, very important. This is a hot topic in the news everywhere. It is student loans. I'm not going to be the person to tell you not to get student loans. I am going to be the person to tell you about the different options for student loans, and I'm going to say let those be your last resort. Before you have to get to the student loans, make sure, confirm that you don't, check on those grants, check on scholarships, work study. You will know it at the same time that you know that you've been awarded grants. Um, but save student loans at the to the very end, because student loans is money that they will give you for education, but it is also money that you have to pay back. Here's the here's the catch to that. There are certain career fields where if you graduate, let's see, I think if you become a special education teacher, I think it may be in Florida, and I think North Carolina has an option. But if you graduate with a bachelor's degree in special education, then I think that you can get a job somewhere and they will pay back your student loans. I'll have to check on that. But there are certain degrees, um, where if you get a job somewhere, then they will pay your student loans back. But I'll get into that later. So um, you have your federal student loans, which is the ones that I will tell you to go to first if you have to get loans. And then you have private student loans. Let me just give you a disclaimer. I don't have private student loans. I've never applied for a private student loan, and that is for a good reason. Private student loans are going to loans cost you an arm and a leg to pay back anyway because you have to pay back that interest. But private student loans, they have some other stipulations that go with it. Um, the interest rate may be a fluctuating interest rate, meaning that it changes all the time. Not good. If it's changing all the time, that means sometimes you probably paying more money, probably all the time. But anyways, I would say federal student loans are the way to go, and you actually have to qualify for those too. And the reason I say federal student loans is just because my experience with them, the interest rate is fixed, so you know what the interest rate is before you accept the loan. You have two types of federal loans. So you have subsidized and you have unsubsidized. Here's the difference. Subsidized student loan, you still have to pay that money back, but you don't start paying it back. You don't start gaining interest on it until you graduate with your degree or until you stop going to school full time. Unsubsidized student loans, as soon as you accept that loan and your classes start, you are already gaining interest that you have to pay back on top of the loan amount. Um, but again, I would tell a student to save a loan as a very last resort. And then I would say go with federal loans. And if you are awarded federal loans, I would say go with the subsidized one until you can't go anymore. Because the unsubsidized, you're starting to earn that interest while you're in school. Now, there are different career fields that will repay your student loans. Students, you can join the military after you earn your degree, and the military will pay your student loans. But you have to give good service. You can't just go into the military and be a BS, a dirtbag soldier, or a dirtbag airman, or a dirtbag sailor. You have to be on top of your game. And so Dennis has joined us again. Hey, baby. Can you say hello? All right. So yeah, loans, save those as a last resort. If you get awarded federal loans and you have to use a loan, go with federal, go with subsidized, and save the unsubsidized for the last thing. So last but not least, um, another way to pay for your education is to work, to be a student who has a job outside of school. You can work full time, you can work part time. As an admissions counselor and as an advisor, I would say this to students coming into my office. If you need to work full time in order to pay for school, I would encourage you to go to school part time. Yes, that means that you are going to go through the process slower than others. I don't think that matters, but it is your future. If you feel that you don't want to go to school part time, but you still want to work full time, then I think that's a risk that you're taking. Some people can handle it, some people cannot, but you know what you can handle. However, if you are working part time, then I think that you can go to school full time. I just think that with working, you just have to have some of the best time management skills. And when I say that, I mean you have to be able to plan out your daily schedule as best as possible. So you might work from 8 until 12 in the morning, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, and then you might go to class from 1 till about 5 p.m. and then take you a little break, maybe an hour or two, try to get some studying in there, and then do it all over again. But you have to be excellent at time management if you're going to work full time or part time and then go to school. So that's my video for today. Thank you for watching it. And if you got to the end of this really long video, I appreciate you. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel. Please like this video and leave me a comment or leave me a question about the information I shared on how to pay for school. All right, y'all.